Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast 272. How are you folks doing? You must be doing great. It was a good week. Lots of celebrations, lots of great reasons for the season. And I thank you for taking time as we get back to the end of this year to get ready for next year. I want to thank my good friends at Bedford Camera, bedfords.com. I know a lot of you have received for either from yourself or your loved ones marvelous gifts from Bedford's this Christmas. I want to thank them for playing Santa and getting all that good stuff out to us. Many of us were fortunate enough to even get the Z9. All thanks to the hard work and expertise there at bedfords.com. So I want to thank them for sponsoring the Moose Podcast and helping us make the season just that much more joyful. So thank you, bedfords.com. And remember, folks, when you go there, ask for that Moose coupon, that 5% off. Save you real money off their already low prices, as well as free shipping over $99. And, of course, for a lot of states, no sales tax. bedfords.com. Thank you, guys. Let's get right into this week's episode. Common to uncommon. As I mentioned, a bunch of us got some really cool camera gear and or accessories over the holidays. And there lies our challenge. One of the things that as photographers we have to literally avoid in the biggest, grandest way is the rut. And the rut, of course, is what? A grave with the ends knocked out. It's human nature, and so it's understandable that when we go out shooting, we tend to follow the same basic groove that we had the day before. And that could be everything from grabbing the same body or the same lens, using the same f-stop. The list could go on, where we're not actually, don't want to say not being creative, but we're staying in that comfort that comfort zone. We are doing what is common to us, and that is, like I mentioned, very much human nature. And there's nothing wrong with it. There is a lot of reason to stay in that zone. If you have a particular style of photography in the genre that you love to explore, that style, in essence, is that comfort zone, that doing what is feeling common to everything you approach. And especially if you're in the business and you're making money from your images, not only does that make common sense, it's in many ways almost essential. You might have a way in which you place that big flash for that portrait, and then that kicker light, and the combination in which you do it, people know it's your portrait. And that is cool. You know, you worked hard to get to that point. But how do you, if you don't have that style, or if you do that style and you want to move the ball a little bit forward, there's a lot of photographers I can think of who, I hate the word reinvent, but they just evolve in which they tell a story visually by what? Well, that's kind of what I'm talking about when I say go common to uncommon. The classic example I like to use is your salt and pepper shaker. Have you ever photographed your salt and pepper shaker? Now, it's a common item that you see all the time. And it was a challenge that I remember well when I was at Brooks, was to photograph that salt shaker, a common household item you see and use every day. And the challenge was to photograph it in a way that was uncommon. In other words, looking at the salt and pepper shaker not as some utilitarian device that delivers spice, but some monolithic, magical piece of graphic artwork. I happened to choose a couple of salt and pepper shaker that were glass with a chrome top. And by bouncing light, and it took a while. It didn't like just go, oh, and boom, hit a light and it just instantly worked. So I had to move a light around, also some negative light, which is black cards. So then they had this kind of a longish shadow, but that longest shadow had specular highlights because of the way the sides were. There's multiple sides. I don't know how many sides there were to them, but it diffracted the light, so that diffracted light went into the shadow. And so the shadow was just as interesting as the actual common salt and pepper shakers. Now, if you look at some of the things that that are in our world that we might be photographing, I'm going to use myself for example. Let's just say I'm going to put the tripod out, put the 180-400 Z9 out, and photograph some birds at the feeder. Something I have done many, 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 many times. And the results look like the results from many, many, many times. How could I all of a sudden take that very common, very easy setup and do something uncommon? One thing I do is I get a light stand. I get a Justin. Boy, I am tongue tied today. A Justin clamp, and I will get a perch, and I'll put a perch somewhere. I never put a perch before, and often I'll put it with a background that. What I'm trying right now is get a shot where the background is where a big congregation of the birds like to hang out. So the background would be, and I say would be because I haven't got the shot yet, would be a bunch of out of focus birds with just one bird on the perch in front of them. And how did I come across this idea? I don't know what it was, but it was the idea is preaching to the choir. Yeah. So the idea being that the one bird on the perch would be the preacher, and the out of focus birds in the background would be the choir. Haven't got it. I'm not going to be even comfortable enough to say I've gotten close. I've gotten enough to be encouraged and discouraged at the same time. But the idea is simple. Trying to take the common scene, which is the birds at the feeder, which come in daily, and going with the uncommon. And that's kind of the extreme. It could be as simple, if I'm going to carry on with that bird feeder idea, we have had a bunch of common redpolls show up here at the ranch, which in and of itself is very uncommon. It's not a common bird, especially this far south or in the sapphires where I live. Yet we've had a flock of 15, 20 now for a number of weeks. Just photographing them. If I could say somehow in the photograph we're in the Sapphire Mountains in Montana, that would be uncommon. Because common redpolls, as their name suggests, if you go to where they're supposed to be, they're very common. So just the photographing of something rare, uncommon, we want to push past that. Now, some of you have got new camera gear for the holidays. That's very cool. That is very cool. That means a lot. You've got that new piece of gear, be it a body or a lens. So right off the bat, for the very brief moment, to you it's uncommon because it is new. You've not had it for a long time, which would make it common. Now, if you instantly take that uncommon piece of gear that you just received and you were to just fall back into that groove and use it as you would anything else. A couple of things. One, have you actually moved your photography forward with that new piece of gear? And two, have you actually helped yourself evolve with that new piece of gear? Let me talk about the Z9 for a second. The Z9 brings many possibilities to the table. It has a truly all electronic shutter. No mechanics in it at all. No mirror moving, no nothing. You can, and I've done it, and it's really, really disorienting. You can make it fire 120 frames per second, and you never hear a sound. You have no indication, none, not audible, not visible, not physical, nothing, that you are filling up this card at 120 frames per second until you stop and you take the card and you put it in your computer, and all of a sudden you see on your photo mechanic a couple hundred images that you never knew you took. It's just mind-boggling. Well, what if we were to take that silent feature of Z9, and every camera, every lens has this feature that's going to be new and unique to it. It's why you add it to your kit. What if you exploited that to go for a photograph you've not taken before? In this case, I got Maggie. And Maggie has learned well from Sharon to, when the camera comes up, to kind of like disappear. I wondered to myself, okay, if Maggie doesn't hear that shutter, and if you have a blinker in your cadre that, and a blinker is someone when it's just a natural reflect, you hear the shutter go click, 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 people often blink. Well, if the person, the blinker, doesn't hear the camera because you've got it on silent, will they blink anymore? It's an interesting experiment. You should try it if you don't go to the common to uncommon. But with Maggie, she couldn't hear the camera do anything. She kind of still gets a little nervous when it's pointed at her because, she's so cute, got to photograph her. But when I went to silent, all of a sudden, her attention went more to not the camera, but me behind it, and getting more of her inflections, her personality became simpler. So whatever tool you got for the holidays or you have in your kit, going from common to uncommon is simply exploiting what makes that tool unique and telling your visual story. And in that process, you are what? You are moving your mind from what you commonly take to things you would uncommonly take. From what you would commonly show in the viewfinder to perhaps uncommonly show and tell a story about. And that's part of this process. It's, showing the uncommon side of something common when it comes to the person looking at your final results. You have to understand that you can have a real profound effect on them because you're now asking them to step past their comfort zone and go on that journey and perhaps see for themselves, maybe for the first time, something that they've had all along and perhaps neglected, didn't take advantage of, overlooked. What can you ask them to do in that visual journey by showing them the uncommon side of something common? The fun thing about this is that it can be as big and as broad as you want. You could, think of looking at all the common things in your world in an uncommon way. Think of the photo essay you could create by just, going, let's say, good example, Joey Terrell, and he's doing all this macro. His macro stuff often is just what is lying around in his kitchen. Yet through light and the close-up lens, he is showing this whole new world that is common to all of us in an incredibly uncommon way. And in that process has totally lit the fuse on a whole lot of people's imagination as they look at that world in a different way. And that is a great gift, one of the greatest gifts any photographer can give their viewer. So if you want visual examples, check out Choi's work. It's a great place to start and light the imagination as you go and from the common to the uncommon, and share that with others, because that's really what it's all about. That's how you reach out. And in that process, grow as a photographer. I'm going to talk to you folks, all you good folks, in the new year. I trust the rest of the year you'll enjoy it with your loved ones and with your camera. And remember to make every click your story.